say anything. Hello.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me on the stream?
Good question.
I'll tell you when the ad is done.
Yeah, fucking ads.
Don't care about the Xbox.
All right.
Audio check.
Okay, there we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another almost lost edition of Last Newsdesk on the Left. I am your host.
Yeah, we lost 5 minutes.
Yeah, I am your host, Mac Paladin. And, yeah, that was fun.
You and I have different interpretations of fun.
As long as we don't have different turpentines of fun.
Uh,
At this point, turpentine, bleach, formaldehyde, varnish, a little bit of hydrogen peroxide would probably do us some good. Yeah, so we've been gone for a while, and now we're back. And I hope everybody tunes in.
It might take a while.
I mean, it would be nice. All right, so let's reintroduce ourselves since nobody remembers who the hell we are. I, of course, am Mac Paladin. Adam is here leading the crew.
Right.
We got Kevin in the house.
greetings from Greenland.
The place you don't want to be if you're in the army.
Yeah, kind of. Yes.
Yes, of course.
Among other things.
Yeah, Penny Fan is in the hizzy.
Might be.
Golix is lurking.
Yes.
And that's it. Twilight Winter has I believe, left the podcasting scene, if I'm not mistaken.
Final verdict's out on that. He's inactive right now because of his actual work.
Right.
He's probably gone for at least a season.
Yeah. He wasn't sure if he was gone for good. So we'll see how that pans out. But he is gone for the
Rest of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has been working with us on Overwatch. We've been having a lot of fun playing Mystery Heroes on Monday. Total pandalirium. Every time you die, you come back as somebody else. And you have no control over that.
Yep.
Have fun with team comp.
Yeah. 4 Roadhogs, a McCree, and a Brigitte. So at least they had a healer. Sort of.
Yeah.
So if you're not used to hooking and booping, it's a bad day for everybody.
Jump in the middle of the pit.
We've never gotten 6 McCrees though.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
But we did have a map with 3 healers, with 3 mercies.
Mm-hmm.
Guess I'm sitting here eating chips. Very professional, folks.
Oh boy.
Hey, it's my dinner.
Well, you know.
Yeah. All right, so I don't know. Just jump into it. I don't give a fuck anymore.
Christ.
This week's...
Let's talk.
Yeah, less talk, more do. Wait.
Yeah, we'll be talking. You be eating.
Yeah, I don't even know anymore. This week's episode is...
Less mountain, more dew.
This episode, we were going to talk about a lot of things over the last couple of weeks, and then stuff happened.
Personal things happened.
Yeah.
Personal.
Well, first it was visitors, and not from V. And then it was mid-season break, and yeah. So anyway, so we're here.
Yeah, we're back, and hopefully we can last longer now.
Yeah. Well, there's a little pill for that.
Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, and I take no responsibility if I jinx it.
Yeah. If it lasts more than 4 hours, turn off the podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, this week's episode is Revolutionary Thought. We did have several ideas leading up to this, but they did not bear fruit. And so this week's pertinent news is what's going on in Cuba. So, Adam, why don't you go ahead and get us rolling?
Well, I'm like, in case you have been avoiding, like, I don't know, the television, the radio, it's been one of the more dominant stories. The situation in Cuba has, reached the point of civil unrest.
Yeah,
Put it lightly.
which is a level up from what we've been for the last however long since Fidel died. So
It's apparently been decades since we've seen like demonstrations on this level, as
Yeah.
I understand it.
yeah,
Like,
it's been a while.
and, it's all relating to the government's mishandling of COVID.
Well,
Like-
partially. I mean, it's partially that, but it's also partially pretty much everything involving the Communist Party of Cuba since 1959.
Also, yes,
Right,
the
but-
government of Cuba is definitely entirely voluntary mishandling of COVID.
Yeah, the point is, things have exacerbated because of all of the apparent COVID mishandling, and specifically, they are having a problem sourcing hypodermic needle.
They pretty much are having problems, having the stuff to put basically the parts of the vaccine where they put the stuff in.
Right, and that's kind of where old flare-ups have been spilling over in this country, because there have been calls to end the embargo.
The one hand.
Okay, so here's the actual thing that's going on in regards to us and the embargo. That actually has no bearing on the COVID, because back in 2000, a exception was carved out for humanitarian needs, be it like food or medicine. So, stuff like hypodermic needles would fall under medical, which we would not embargo. Like that was true. That was true at one point. It hasn't been true in about 21 years, and the embargo was loosening under the Obama administration. It got tightened under the stupid Orange Yams reign of terror. But that was something that wasn't ever added back, even back when that abomination was in charge. So, the embargo,
Of course, it's being used as pretty much a way to try to explain away not doing anything.
Right, and this is nothing new, especially in regards to the left in Cuba. But I'm like, things have finally reached a point where, I mean, surprise, surprise, the leftists have a Marxist problem. And,
Yeah.
Which way are you talking about it being a problem?
Well, I mean,
Well,
it's a problem.
It's more like the left is supporting a totalitarian state which is using cops to fire on its own people, despite the fact that that same left is trying to protest cops firing upon people.
Yeah. And once again, this is nothing new. The leftists have a Marxist problem, has been a, problem for literally decades.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it hasn't come up as much because, most of the totalitarian communist regimes fell apart a few decades ago.
Yeah, 92, 93, but it's more
Yeah.
like, and it's also more of a case of the groups that are having the Marxist problem are of the extremist variety nowadays. I mean, most of the mainstream leftist organizations are like, nah, no.
I suppose that depends because, let's say some not so surprising suspects, and perhaps some surprising suspects have chimed in support for Cuba. Like, it's no surprise that an organization like the Democratic Socialists of America are in support of this. It's perhaps more surprising that the Black Lives Matter organization is supporting the Cuban government.
Although not really, considering that their leadership is, not...
Right. Here's the thing. People don't know that.
Yeah, of course they don't.
Right.
No. So that's kind of a bad reflection on the movement as a whole. Because even if you can't say these people aren't representing them, they're using that fucking name. So, kind of are.
It's kind of hard, but it's kind of hard to, say that organization is like that because of that name. It's like, I can say I believe in Black Lives Matter, and I don't believe this what they're saying right here, but it's like, yeah, but that's their name, so obviously you believe it. So it's talking to a wall at that point.
And it's not just even just supporting the Cuban government because they're leftist, they're communists, that whole thing. They're caping, these people are caping for the communist regime in weird and very wrong ways. Fucking saying that the communist regime has ended racism is just no.
No, I mean, it's very complex, the situation with Afro-Cubans. It's a very complex thing.
Right. Well, here's the thing. On the government side, it's complex, and then on the opposition side, it's complex. That's why whenever stuff like this comes up, it's like, I don't really know how to feel. I mean, on the one hand, the communists are terrible, but on the other hand, when I see these protests, I don't see a lot of Afro-Cuban representation in there, so it's like, it's hard. It's not hard. It's not fucking hard at all.
There's also a lot of misinformation being thrown around about, because once again we're on the bandwagon with, how great the Cuban education system is, and it's like, no, just stop. Stop. Their whole medical system. We should. It's like, it's like nobody has time for that conversation.
Stop.
I'm not saying that at all. I think that's
Adam wants to speak. Adam wants to speak. Give him the floor.
Okay.
I'm like, no. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
You say supporting the Cuban regime is wrong because they are still a fucking totalitarian regime that makes political dissidents disappear. For fucking ask the gay Cuban community about such things.
Look, please don't mistake me saying what I said as support for the Cuban regime, because
I'm not saying what you say. I'm saying the people that are lavishing praise on the fucking Cuban government, they can go fuck right off.
Honestly, my stance on Cuba and totalitarianism is that if you're picking and choosing which totalitarian regimes to be friends with, because we are, you might as well pick to be a little bit friendlier with the one that's literally right next to you.
That's irrelevant. Because we're not talking about us. And that's another fucking problem with this conversation. A lot of people here are dragging our policies, our government, our everything into what is an internal Cuban matter. This shouldn't be about us. It's about them. And that's getting lost in the fucking conversation. It
is. It always is. Because, frankly, whenever I see stuff of this, what do we always see? We don't just see what's happening inside of Cuba. We always see what's happening in Miami.
Well,
always. Because it feels like to me, whenever we have these kind of conversations, that it's about what the people of Cuba want versus what the Cuban exiles in Miami want.
Right.
It just feels like that if it were up to the Cuban exiles in Miami, it'd be back to the Batista era. which is the polar opposite of the communists. And it's like that's what I truly fear about. Yeah, you can get rid of the communists, but like, then what then? Because it feels like to me that in some circles the want is for something close to what they had before 1959.
To the good old fascist days.
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah.
The
Hey, it's popular in America.
I mean, clearly, regardless of the outcome of the revolution, there was a need for a revolution. That's
I mean, there's a reason why that happened.
right.
That's
the
right,
thing.
but it's also like 60 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, very few people alive today remember what the actual revolution was about. It would be like arguing Leninism with anybody alive today. They can read about it, but they have no dog in that fight.
Yeah, it's like there's a reason why there was revolutionary mindset in 1959. And it's like maybe there's a reason why there's obviously reasons why there's opposition now and always has been.
But
it's like,
yeah.
Go ahead.
But what really bothers me about this whole situation is that Americans are once again making it narcissistically all about us, and so we're sitting here going, see, I mean, look, they have universal medical coverage, and they have universal public education, and they have this and they have that, and it's like, yeah, but is it any good? Because it's once again managed by a communist regime. And that's the key word there is regime.
Yeah.
It's not
regime,
it's not managed by the will of the people. It's managed by the will of a few people.
And you also don't know what the actual truth is.
Right.
Like, all the numbers and the figures, that might just be a propaganda move.
Well, yeah, that's another thing about fucking totalitarian dictatorships, be they left or right. Yeah. Lying is the routine.
Mm-hmm.
Propaganda is a tale as old as time.
Yeah, it's like, all governments lies, but when you're under a dictatorship,
I mean,
the totalitarians and the authoritarians lying is law, essentially.
Yeah, it's once again like Obama got in trouble for saying, well, there are certain aspects of their system that may be laudable, and then everybody dogpiled on him and possibly rightly so, because it's like, no, just don't give them any unnecessary credit. That's part of the problem is that anything good that occurs in these situations was paid for with blood. And so there's no, so as a result, it kind of cancels out a lot of the perceived good of any of those things. Oh, well, it's efficient. Yeah, but it's efficient at what?
Yeah, why is it efficient?
Right.
Why is it efficient?
Right. Is it efficient? Is it efficient in the sense that everybody's indoctrinated to believe exactly the same things, so they're in lockstep? I mean, what's the...
Or is it efficient, or is it efficient because it has to be efficient, because otherwise you'll be in jail or worse?
Right. So I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into this. It's like the old Godwin invocation. It's like, well, at least under Hitler the trains ran on time, and it's like, also that was not true.
Yeah.
But that
Mussolini,
but well, right. But the point being that it's like the things that we believe about certain things. It's like, well, it's just. And I'm not, and this is by no means like dogpiling on democratic socialism. I'm totally okay with democratic socialism. I'm totally okay with the systems like Finland and Denmark and Sweden and all that stuff, because at least the people are heard.
Right.
It's not just levied on people by a dictator.
Right. It's not. Well, it's forced upon you because. It has to be, otherwise it doesn't work.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the dirty secret of, let's say, socialism on the way to communism, or I don't know how to define that, but it's a centrally planned economy. You need a very strong controlling government to run all of that,
right?
Because the government is literally running everything. It owns everything. It's providing everything. It's like, I'm not sure that level of control is attainable under a democratic system.
Right. Which is why the best system is a hybrid system that incorporates all the best elements of everything. I mean, as flawed as our current government is, It's on the road to that. It has all the building blocks in place to create a functional democratic republic that has some elements of pure capitalism, some elements of democratic socialism, some elements of. In other words, we don't have to be all the way one way or another.
Right.
We can do what we've always done best, which is the theory that Americans cherry pick the best things of other societies and make it our own.
Yeah.
You know.
I suppose to address...
although I'm careful with that statement because that's another nationalistic thing.
Yeah. Anyway, as far as what the American government can actually do in regards to the Cuban situation, there are actually a few things. From what I understand, Biden is looking into finding a way to provide internet access to the protesters because, once again, one of the issues with the whole totalitarian government is they have blocked internet access.
Kind of like during Arab Spring.
Right. Another thing that they are looking at is apparently reinstating remittance payments. That's one of those things that got axed during the Nightmare era.
Yeah, because during the Nightmare era, the hardline anti-Cuban people were rock and rolling.
Yeah.
Because oh my God, Obama wanted to do detente. Try to make groundwork for post-Castro Cuba, just like the Republicans did, laying the groundwork for post-Soviet Eastern Europe.
Yeah. Things that we are not going to be doing. No, we are not going to fucking bomb Cuba.
No. No.
Nope.
No bombs, no coups. There's another country in the Caribbean that's still suffering from the after effects of American interference. We don't need to do that again, okay?
Yeah.
Are you talking about Grenada?
I'm talking about Haiti.
I was going to say.
I said interference, rather than, imperialism. I said interference because that was more loose. That's why I said interference, but it's like, yeah.
No, but Haiti is Haiti is another prime example of American interventionism in the local sphere that has been catastrophic. Right. And we didn't even go full on. We didn't even go full on like say Guatemala or something like that.
That's what I'm trying to get at. It's like, another country where American interference, the after effects of that are being felt at the current present moment is happening right now. I don't think we need to do a big thing in Cuba right now because, I don't think it would be very, very good for that country.
Well, and I would imagine that anything negative we do against Cuba would also have effects on all Caribbean nations and even American holdings, such as Puerto Rico.
Yeah, and in Central and Southern America too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like if we were going to bomb Cuba, we would have done it already.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'll note, not even the stupid orange yam apparently ever seriously considered bombing Cuba.
Yeah, if we would have done that, we would have done that in the era where we were bombing and coup d'etat all over the place.
He was too busy cozying up to dictators that he thought would be friendly to his own regime.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but it's like, if we were to have bombed or done a coup d'etat in Cuba, we would have done it already. Although we did do it technically tried to do it technically with the Bay of Pigs, but even though that
didn't work.
It didn't work. Even though that people in Miami want those people to be heroes for some reason,
which will be coming up on its 70th anniversary next year.
Yeah. The point is, what's going on in Cuba is worth keeping an eye on.
Mm-hmm.
Although I do kind of think that it's not going to be, as big a deal eventually until Raul's out of the picture.
Yeah.
Once there is no living Castro, that's a wrap. I mean, there's a reason why the guy who's president of Cuba now got Raul out of bed. Okay? There's a reason. Once there's no Castro around, there's nobody for him to bounce off of, and that is going to be a problem. That is when things are going to start getting feisty. Whether that happens within the next 3 years, who knows? But just keep an eye out on Cuba. Well, we technically always have to. And if Raul ever leaves the stage, that's when things are going to get feisty. But not a moment before. Until then, it's probably going to be like maybe bits and things of this. And then when Raul dies, then things are going to get feisty. You know, so.
Well, then.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the fact.
No,
anyway.
there's no disputing about it, but you got to drop these sobriety bombs. Jesus, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, when stuff comes to this, it's hard, cold truths.
Hey, I never said this was a comedy show, folks.
Yeah, I mean,
True enough.
yeah, sometimes politics and news is comedy, sometimes it's not.
I mean, yeah. Now, I think Biden is taking the right track in regards to the Cuban situation.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's being firm of being supportive of the Cuban people, but also at the same time being cautious. Not
And
to
and
find
he-
the line,
and he's not going to utter words of support for the Cuban government or their, their
X1 system. Yeah.
their system of commerce, such as it is. Like, if you're surprised that Biden is calling communism a failed system, like,
I
He
mean,
was-
statistically, it is. Based
Yeah.
on the number of countries that have adopted communism versus the number of countries that are still communist, not a very good track record, I must say.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
more specifically to the point, Biden was actually there when the Soviet Union fell.
well, yeah,
He was there when a lot of things fell.
Yeah, well, yeah, but still, I mean, he was there.
He-
He was there in '92.
He
He was there in '91.
He was there at Shaka when the walls fell.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Anyway, shifting away from Cuba, the story that we were planning on talking about for a while, that was going to be the lead-in for a long time, is we have actual movement in one of the myriad of Trump's legal affairs.
Oh boy.
Very specifically, the Trump Organization and its CFO have been charged with crimes.
well, I don't know if we should say CFO more than its ex-CFO because
Has he been fired yet? I know he's been
He
dismissed from
said
some.
he sent a letter out stating categorically that he resigned from everything related to the Trump Organization. He wasn't fired, but he basically tried desperately to get out of there. And it's like, yeah, you see, the problem is that the statute of limitations on any crimes you might have committed isn't up.
I mean,
I quit any jobs that you know of, and also any ones that I didn't that may be relevant to any of the
However,
organizations that did the bad stuff.
However, there is a possibility that by quickly distancing himself before any deals are thrown his way by the prosecuting attorneys, it's entirely possible that he may have just sweetened his deal so he doesn't have to plead the fifth.
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Possibly, but I don't think there's much need for him to plead the fifth, at least in regards to his own fucking charges, because, good God, have you actually read what's going on here? It's okay. They fucking kept notes. They kept actual ledgers with the crimes on them. I'm like,
This is like finding Al Capone's ledger.
yeah.
This is
they found
this is the plot. This is the plot of a Brian De Palma movie. Now what we need is a shootout at Grand Central Station.
Al Capone's a criminal. Like, dig in order to get him. Dig deep.
We need exploding. We need exploding ketchup packets and a shootout at Grand Central Station.
Yeah.
When the clock strikes midnight, the guns start blazing.
It's like Al Capone. They had to dig like deep into the ground to finally get him on something. Here, right in front of your face. Oh wow! Look at this. Okay, huh?
Yeah.
Bingo.
And it's not even in code. That's the best part, because that was the big deal about Al Capone's ledger, was that it was in code and it didn't list anybody specifically. They needed the bookkeeper.
You have to squint and find it. You have to translate. You have to squint. Here it's like boom.
Yeah.
No tap dancing. No, trying to look between the lines. No trying to dig in. No, it's like right here, right there. It's like
was it Nixon who compulsively audio recorded himself?
Yeah.
Yes.
And what actually got him in trouble was not the contents of the tapes, but the fact that he erased something.
He edited them. Yes.
Yeah, for, showing that he was clearly afraid of something.
Yeah, it's like it was a long extended edit, and it's like a clearly audible edit, and that was it. But no, here it's like right in front of your face.
Something about listening to Alice's Restaurant.
Probably something like that. Yes.
Bringing a knife to a gunfight.
Yes, something like that.
I didn't say the first part because it's derogatory, but we all know them. We're going to be quoting the Untouchables for the rest of the night, I'm sure.
Might as well.
Yeah, probably. But yeah. So yeah, the question is, why hasn't Trump himself been charged? Well, here's the thing. It's an organized crime thing. And, this motherfucker grew up around crime bosses and shit. So...
Small fish to big fish.
Well, keep in mind, where they started was the fucking CFO.
Yeah.
That's not a small fish.
No, I'm talking...
It's a big fish for that particular pond, but there's
Yeah.
more than one pond involved here.
Well,
it's more relative,
the thing is, they couldn't hack at it with a broadsword. They had to surgically strike it with an EP.
Yeah.
They couldn't. They had to move fast because this is a big organization with a lot of moving parts. So they had to carefully and considerately pick their target and then boom, move on them without warning. Or as Trump would put it, move on them like a bitch.
Well, it's not necessarily. No, they didn't move. They moved with a lot of warning, actually, considering that we were getting reports for days upon days that charges were imminent or something Trump related.
No, but but that's as fast as our justice system can actually move and actually win cases.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Like something at this level, they usually don't bring charges unless they are pretty sure they're going to win.
Right.
And given what the evidence has been laid out, Albert is probably looking at some jail time. How much? Well, that's kind of up to a judge, unless he takes a plea deal.
Right.
Like right now, he's declared not guilty. But people are kind of missing the bigger news item here, and it's not Weisselberg being charged. It's not Trump not being charged. It's the Trump organization itself being charged. This entity has been criminally charged. That is important because I don't think people know what the Trump organization actually is. The Trump organization is the thing that actually manages all of the Trump assets.
Right. And this goes This goes into an interesting thing that I did about 10 years ago. I sent a lengthy email to then Senator Al Franken, and I said, if you really want to dismantle Citizens United, the first thing you need to do is you need to start charging these companies that now have personhood with crimes themselves. Shut them down. Put a freeze on their assets the same way you would an individual that is, under criminal investigation. Beyond, obviously not including their ability to defend themselves under the system, but, remove the ability for the company and its officers to flee to another nation to avoid prosecution, like they did with companies going to Dubai and stuff like that. Just put them on lockdown. I said, you will change the system overnight if they realize that they can no longer use it as a shield against criminal malfeasance. Prosecution.
Unfortunately, the corporations have been very good at learning how to have their personhood and eat it too.
Well, but you see, but now the Trump organization is now a perfect example of a vehicle of change. If we were going to talk about removing personhood from corporations and getting all that dark money out of politics, this is actually a notable first step, and it may not be the first thing everybody thought of when they're thinking about this situation, because we're all thinking about the trauma of the Trump presidency and the existence of Donald Trump himself. When we think about those things, we're thinking more about that, but this is actually some real big picture stuff that could be happening right here.
It's also, scaling it down a bit, it's also an important step, arguably as important as bringing criminal charges to Trump, the Trump family. Like, taking down the Trump organization, that's his money. That's his actual fucking assets and wealth there.
And as my old boss used to always say, you never fuck with a man's money, because once you do, you put him in a corner.
Yeah. That's why Trump's been shitting a brick over this. It's not necessarily, his frontman over there. Mm-hmm. It's, the Trump organization could be ending up like, what was the Trump charity? Mm-hmm. The Trump Foundation. That ultimately had to be shut down because of, criminal prosecution.
Well, and as we've all...
You mean because he got banned from operating a charity in the state of New York ever?
Right.
No, not just that, but the actual Trump Foundation had to be dissolved because of criminal enterprise.
Right, and this is even more interesting, because as we're learning, the deep dark secret of all billionaires is that they don't have $1 billion worth of liquid assets anywhere. If you take down their shell corporation or their LLC or whatever it is that is managing their finances, they are fucked. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Jeff Bezos' entire net worth is tied up in Amazon. It's no wonder that he stepped down as CEO and suddenly wants to do space ventures and building a revolutionary new program to make Amazon the greatest place on earth to work, but as long as he's not CEO. It's like, no fucking wonder that he stepped down from that, is because, he was really getting to the point to where, the boiling oil and pitchforks were coming out. So he's now distanced.
Besides, he wanted to dedicate more of his money to building an enormous dick to ride into space on.
I was leading up to that.
Well,
I never knew.
It's hard to lead into it for a long time without having to say, yeah, Jeff Bezos built a ship that looks like a giant dick.
Well, now like The Simpsons, Austin Powers has become a prophet. He literally is Dr. Evil, or as I like to call him, low-rent Lex Luthor.
How long until we get another Austin Powers movie?
They're still talking about it. I don't know. They better do it before everybody dies.
Yeah, well, considering this, throw that money at Mike Myers already. Let's get it popping.
Man, there's so much going on right now that would be perfect fodder for an Austin Powers 4.
Yeah, give Mike that money. Lord knows he needs it.
If they can bring back Steve Trevor, anything can happen.
Yeah. Was there anything that Space Jam 2 didn't reference?
Holy shit. Oh, my God. I was a little disappointed that because the movie was actually somewhat enjoyable and watchable. The thing that really bothered me was the fact that I have to personally edit out about 7 minutes worth of references and runtime just because of all the Harry Potter shit. It's like, Rowling, could you possibly come out with more transphobic bullshit on the day a movie launches that has some of your property in it?
Warner Brothers still likes Harry Potter. I mean, Harry Potter is still being sold around.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. It shouldn't be at this point.
Then connect your red strings as appropriate.
Eh.
Because that speaks more about Warner Brothers than anything else.
And there's no unbuilding that without it costing hundreds of billions of dollars. So
right.
Also, the poor fucking Iron Giant.
Right.
I mean, it's always been that way. I mean, for like a decade or so, they didn't even want to talk about that movie. You know,
well,
I mean,
it's also everyone misses the point of the Iron Giants.
Yes.
Like, it's not just Space Jam. Fucking Ready Player One, not surprisingly, missed the
One
fucking.
more so.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know that meme about the I forget what the fuck the original one was, but guy looking at I think it was originally Gundam, where there was like a picture of the thing, and a guy looking at it, and it's wow, cool robot, and then like war is bad as a missile being fired over his head. Iron Giant is extremely that.
Mm-hmm. It's like.
You know what's sad is I know I've seen this movie and I don't remember anything about it. I remember enjoying it thoroughly too, and that's the sad part. Is that's one of those lost gems. I don't think the point of the movie was lost on me. I just don't remember the movie at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's been like 12 years since I've seen it.
So the weird thing for me about it is I had read the book before the movie, and the book is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Shocking. This is my shocked face. You can't see it, but I promise you it's there. It's right there next to Trump's big words. His big words and his smart brain.
Anyhow.
This is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. As a side note to human behavior and human hubris, we had a team last night on Overwatch where this guy was just like, he was such a whiner and a quitter. He was telling us that Moiras are bad, and it's like, dude, we're all in bronze here. Try to show some fucking solidarity. Oh no, I'm really a diamond player smurfing, and it's like,
you know what? That would have been a lot more believable if you didn't say that.
It would have been a lot more believable if you didn't suck.
That also, but
you can see this on our stream from yesterday. But the entire team actually joined voice chat. This was a rare instance where the entire team, all 6 of us, well, 5 of us, not excluding the person who was being an ass, were all in voice chat, and we were all dogpiling on this dude, and he didn't quit.
Mm-hmm.
He claimed, oh yeah, my monitor got disconnected, and I thought my computer. And it's like, yeah, okay. Whatever, dude. C9, buddy.
Seems like it would have been really hard to get to be a diamond player if you had that kind of hardware issues on any kind of regular basis.
Yeah. Oh, my monitor got disconnected, and then I thought it was the computer, and it's like, ooh, we have ourselves a fucking expert here. Anyway, why don't we move on to? Speaking of, why don't we move on to entertainment news?
Like
Space Jam 2 happened.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm
like,
first of all, before you start, has anybody here seen it? I have.
I have not and don't intend to. I've seen some clips of
that's
it.
not what I was shifting towards. Like, because the fucking Olympics are about to lurch.
Gosh, does that really legally qualify as entertainment anymore? I mean, I don't find anything entertaining about it.
I'm still hoping that they're just going to like cancel it at the last fucking second, because how bad does shit have to go before you lose more face for hosting an event than you would have for having canceled it? Because I think we might be going there.
Well, unfortunately, Comcast needs it, and Comcast wants it, and what Comcast wants, Comcast is unfortunately going to get.
NBC,
I
the
keep-
official
like-
channel of the Olympics. Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. Look, if these games were going to get canceled, they would have been canceled already.
Yep.
Period.
Should have been canceled already.
That's a different conversation, and obviously they should have been canceled. But if they were going to be canceled, they would have been canceled long before now.
I feel like Adam had something to say.
Well,
Sorry.
okay, even putting aside COVID and those concerns, this has been a fucking shit show.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. There's a.
I'm like,
well,
God.
this is not the new thing that happened tonight, I'm assuming.
Oh,
No.
God. So this just fucking happened.
No,
Apparently,
no.
the direct.
Sorry.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Apparently, the director of the Olympics opening has been ousted over previous comments mocking the Holocaust.
And let's be noteful here that this is not the composer that was taken out of the opening ceremonies because of him being an abuser of children back in the day. This is a completely different story.
I'm just saying, maybe there's a reason that one lady tried to fucking squirt gun the Olympic torch out.
You need more than a squirt gun for that.
I know.
But yeah, I mean,
She
this
just
is
like the way it made the flames ripple.
The intention was mostly symbolic.
Now, what I was noting earlier, by the way, is another thing that happened over the course of the last 48 hours that doesn't have to do with Tokyo, but still has to do with the Olympics proper. Because of the fact that nobody wants to bid for the Olympics anymore, this week the 2032 Summer Olympic Games were awarded to Australia, specifically the city of Brisbane in Queensland. And there was a big press conference today involving the head of the Australian Olympic Committee and the basically the leader, the prime minister, whatever you want to call her, of Queensland. And the head of the AOC was pretty much being a sexist dick to her because she previously stated that she was not going to participate, she was not going to attend the opening ceremonies on Friday, which, by the way, are now a complete and utter shit show on a multitude of levels. But mostly because of the fact that COVID.
God.
But then the head of the IOC says you're going to attend the Olympics on Friday because it's tradition, you know.
Oh God.
Essentially, said in a tone that makes it very, 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 very clear it is misogynistic as shit.
And just remember, folks, that tradition is merely peer pressure from dead people.
Yes. Like, this has been a complete and total mess. This whole entire thing, for the last few months, has pretty much exposed the fact that the Olympic movement, whatever the hell that is now, is not about the athletes, and it's not about sport anymore. It's about greed, profit, and about the politics of the people in charge. That's it. It's not about the sport anymore. It's not about the athletes anymore. The athletes are collateral. The people in the countries that host these games are collateral. Why the hell do we not have countries bidding for the games anymore? There's a reason for that. It's because the whole thing has been exposed over the last few years, and it has only gotten worse.
Yeah, it's just a highly commercialized mess.
And think about this. This is only about this year. Guess where the Olympics are next year? Beijing.
Yeah.
Think about that for a minute. I mean, it was already a mess in 08 the last time they hosted it. And that was before you had the whole Xinjiang situation and the Algiers situation.
Remind me again, what year was it? What year was it that the World Cup was going to be in fucking not Saudi Arabia?
Next year it's in Qatar.
Yeah, that's going to be a fucking disaster. So
Isn't it fall winter? Or is that next year?
I think it's next year, but still, the point is that
Yeah. That's coming up.
some countries are worse than other countries as locations for playing strenuous sports in the summer. Is all I'm saying.
More to the point, those things. It's actually more fact that these places are winning these things because of corruption.
That too, yes.
It's
I thought that went without saying, really.
It's because of money. and possibly a lot of money that they actually don't have. Because, even without COVID and even without this mess, the amount of money that they projected these Olympics were going to cost already ballooned 3 times. Like, they said, even before COVID. It's like they always lie about how much those things cost. They always lie. And it's like...
Or at least badly misestimate.
Yeah, they badly misestimate, but it's intentional misestimation, which means it's lying. So it's like, frankly, I don't like talking like someone like this because, there are actual athletes who actually want to participate in these things and work their whole lives to do it and aren't professional athletes in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, but it's
like, we got to think about that for a minute. But at the same time, it's like, you can say that, but at the same time, look at the people in charge and go, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, I mean, it's corrupted like the NCAA and any professional sport in the United States. It's not about who are the greatest athletes. It's about who sells the most tickets and who sells the most airtime. And Sha'Carri, what was her last name? I totally blanked. I didn't have it in front of me, and
Henderson, I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry I waded into that without having all the information in front of me. But what's that?
But just say Sha'Carri. Everybody, I think people can figure it out.
Yeah. So even though she's quite photogenic, and they looked for the dumbest possible reason imaginable to remove her from the games. Meanwhile, they got didn't they have somebody else though who was shall we say a paler complexion who was using steroids? Was actually
Lance Armstrong did steroids, but when we're talking about the Sha'Carri situation, it's about weed.
Well, somebody was juicing in some way or something. Oh well, it was yeah. Once again, the black community suffers the black community in America suffers at the hands of weed being apparently a capital crime.
Yeah, well,
okay. Part of the problem here is,
of course, the thing with that
not
is
just the
rules. So
yeah. So part of the problem is this is more shit from the '90s. Drug scare, because turns out we were the ones who pushed to have marijuana be a performance-enhancing substance back in the '90s.
Yes,
if
they had an event for eating the most bags of Cheetos in a single sitting, I would probably win the gold hands down, especially if I was using quote unquote performance enhancing drugs like weed.
Look, fucking Robin Williams joked about this shit in 2002.
I know.
Yeah.
Weapons of mass distraction, one of my favorite routines.
Yeah, it's like, no, weed enhances a lot of things, not performance. That's like saying alcohol enhances performance.
Especially if you're in NASCAR. Well, I mean, if they wanted to make NASCAR a full contact sport, then I would imagine they would probably involve alcohol.
I mean, technically the sport was basically originated by people who sold moonshine, so, hey.
I mean, it's an outlet. Listen, it's an outlet for people who used to run illegal shine to drive cars really fast.
Yes. Look, I'm a fan of that sport, but hey, you know what? If we were, they always talk about wanting to go back to their roots. Let's take it to the max. That's how people drink a shot of moonshine before each race. Let's see how that works.
Yeah, just put it in the gas tank.
Yeah, let's give everybody some Jim Beam and let's see how that works.
I mean, it'll eject the catalytic converter through the back end of the car, but...
Yeah, I mean, hey.
Wait. Do race cars actually have catalytic converters? Because that's actually a performance reducer.
No, of course not. But, I mean... Anyhow...
Yep, Uncola Man, that is absolutely true. That is definitely an interesting aspect of NASCAR's history. I mean, it's basically one of the plot through lines of the Dukes of Hazzard. You know, was the fact that they kept going back to stock car racing. You know, and the fact that the old General Lee was a stock car that was originally built for a race.
Well,
You know, they didn't just paint that good old boy vehicle for orange with an 01 on the side of it for no reason.
yeah. Of course, there's a thing on the top of the car, but you know.
Yeah, it was in vogue, and it was in vogue in the late '70s and early '80s to wave the rebel flag. You know, but it had
just like this year now. Just like now, you mean?
I personally like the take that they threw on it in the 2005 movie.
Anyhow.
People driving by honking at him and throwing epithets.
Anyhow.
That was fun.
Mm.
All right. Well,
Anyhow.
we do have some announcements related to Starship Moonhawk. We've continued. We've actually completed another scene in the movie Survivor, and I had to recast some people for, shall we say, various political sundry on their Facebook feeds, and yeah, you know, it's like I, without getting terribly specific, there was an unusually large anti-vaccination presence going on social media.
Well, there you go.
And so a number of people got removed, especially since somebody very near and dear to the production died as a result of COVID. So, not to mention close family and friends. So with that in mind, I can now officially announce that Tawny Platisse has joined us as Shasta. And that character has a presence in the Mercadian Affair, Made in the USA, The Last Sentinel, and is a main character in our Cosmic Feline limited run series. So that's pretty exciting. And also, I can officially say that Richard Epcar will be playing Chief Hakra and Grand Admiral William Eubanks in the Mercadian Affair. So those are pretty important switch outs. Because the actors who were originally scheduled to play those roles are no longer available. I'll let you devise your own conspiracy Venn diagrams at your leisure.
God.
Yeah. There was one other one that was kind of important that I wanted to mention, but I'm sure it'll come to me after the show. But yeah, we've made some significant progress on that. As far as I don't believe the term remastering adequately describes what we're doing to the first 40 minutes of footage that we had originally created for the animated series. But as far as reconstructing it into movie format, we've built pretty complex rigs and things, and we're almost to the 1/3 point of the first episode, which is basically the entire setup for the Mercadian Affair film. And I did complete the closing shot of Survivor. I still have to work some stuff out with our Brazilian artist, Henderson Soares. We know him affectionately in the studio as Oshigan. Or Oshi. And I still have to work out a couple of items with him for footage that he had created, but I haven't yet officially paid for. And then get some more models from him. But we've actually decided that we're going to go a slightly different direction with that film. We were originally going to do a slightly more sophisticated motion comic, like we did with Surrender back in 2018. And we've decided instead that we're going to do animation using paper doll models. So it's actually becoming more of an actual feature film. It's just that we're going to be using some quick and dirty tricks to kind of fake some of the animation to speed up the process and keep our costs down. But we have enough assets on hand that we can actually go ahead and make the movie without having to draw each and every, keyframe of the major scenes now. And
I thought that was the best part.
Yeah, we're doing this thing to where we've got enough what I'll call found footage. Like we have sets and things that we actually designed for other shows and things. There is actually a certain benefit to my ADHD creator disorder. And that is that we develop so many assets for so many different things that we can actually complete one project using elements from all of the projects with minimal set redressing, so to speak. We do have a 3D model of the Moonhawk Bridge. We're working on 3D models of some of the spaceships, some of which will not be as sophisticated as the Moonhawk model because of the fact that they're not being used as much. So a lot of exciting developments, and so we're actually to the point. I've almost completed the. I'm about halfway through the closing credits sequence, which doesn't have any sophisticated graphics, but oh shit, is it tedious. Hey, let's go and find videos on how to make your text scroll. Oh. First, start in Excel. It's like we're already off to a bad start. Yeah.
Not Excel!
Yeah. So that way you can get everything in order and in position, and then you copy and paste it, and then you have to do a bunch of null objects, and yeah. So I went and researched and did a thing on my own. And now and now I'm trying to put the cards together with some space effects, so that way we can kind of gently riff on the ending of Star Trek 2009. Which is kind of funny because Kira actually is, I'll say, familiar with the head of Video Copilot, who actually did the opticals for Star Trek 2009 and Into Darkness. So we actually have that module. We're not going to do the planets thing. Ours is going to have nebulae. And old-timey film effects.
Anyhow.
All right, so that's it for Starship Moonhawk. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to add, entertainment-wise, personal business, upcoming events?
I think we're good.
I think we're good.
All right. Well, then, I guess that wraps up our show for this week. Of course, I'm Mac Paladin on behalf of the crew at Last News Desk on the left. Okay. On behalf of the crew at Last News Desk on the left, I'm your host, Mac Paladin. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, kids.
Stay safe and get vaccinated, y'all.